fight for Ukraine. New world order.
Drone strikes have saved lives.
Can we shoot them down if over our property?
Drones.
Among the stories we've been having recently, folks, about the U.S. sending over missile systems, rocket systems, et cetera, there's also been talk about sending Reaper drones, which we've talked about, which can be equipped with Hellfire missiles. And so drones are a big topic of conversation as far as Ukraine goes. But, not everybody's quite sold yet. So we got to get some propaganda in there to get everybody on board. And this is coming from metro.co.uk, which just has quite the extravagant Pride Month logo change here. Okay. And the headline is "Schoolboy nicknamed Hero of Ukraine held off Russian tanks using a toy drone." Ooh, okay. We've got another hero of Ukraine. Of course, part of the narrative, the propaganda narrative that's been going on throughout the conflict, are these sort of folklore hero sort of fairy tales that have been propping up. We had the ghost of Kyiv, and there's some grandma who got some fame for being a war hero. But now we got a kid with a toy drone. A 15-year-old boy who flies drones as a hobby helped to prevent Russian soldiers from overrunning Kyiv. Andriy Pokrasa has revealed his role. He's revealed his role in the defense of the capital after being hailed a real hero, a hero of Ukraine by the military. Despite soldiers trying to track the position of a column of troops and tanks heading for the capital, did not have access to a drone in the early days of the invasion, his father got in touch with local defenders to tell them his son was skilled at flying one, had bought his own as a pastime, and might be able to help. Not long after, the schoolboy, more used to skateboarding than military reconnaissance, helped direct strikes against the convoy. The teenager told Global News, quote, "They provided us information where approximately the Russian column would be. Quote, our goal was to find the exact coordinates and provide the coordinates to the soldiers." Quote continues, "It was one of the biggest columns that was moving on the Zaitomir Road, and we managed to find it because one of the trucks turned on its lights for a long time." Okay. Ukrainian soldiers targeted the column and were eventually able to stop the march on Kyiv altogether. Commercially available drones have become a core part of the Ukrainian military strategy, as well as more advanced models developed by arms manufacturers. And it goes on. There's an interesting commentary here. Taras Troyak, a former retailer, founded a Facebook group to coordinate drone owners in Ukraine who wanted to turn their hobby into a surveillance tool for the army. He told the Canadian outlet, quote, "If we didn't have such operators and drones who could help the Ukrainian army, I think Kyiv could be occupied by Russian forces. The Ukrainian army has relied heavily on the Turkish-made Bayraktar TB2 drone, buying dozens in the build-up to the conflict. They have been central," and it goes on to those Turkish drones there. So I find this fascinating because much like the conversation with the long-range rocket systems that have really just put the whole world on edge, pushing Putin into a defensive position, again, threatening nuclear war if these rockets were targeting Russian territory. And then, of course, Steve mentioned, yeah, we are going to shoot it at Russian territory. What are you going to do? But these drones, handing over full-scale military drones, has been in the works and I'm sure will happen, which would give Ukraine just a massive advantage over their current situation. But I feel like this talk of, hey, even a 15-year-old with a drone possibly saved Kyiv altogether. Think of what we could do with some real military drones. This idea that a child was sort of conscripted into military, a 15-year-old conscripted into military service, speaks volumes as to, their Ukraine's willingness to sort of fold anybody into their military that's willing to do so, which has been a strategy from the beginning. Remember, our first aid packages of weapons literally just dropped crates of guns on the street, and people were just, anybody could walk up and take a gun to help defend Ukraine, which, how could that possibly backfire in the future? That's going to be fine. But now the sort of narrative building that even a child, the drones, we need the drones because even a child armed with a drone saved the entire city, is just a beautiful piece of narrative crafting to further justify sending over offensive warfare weapons, basically to fight our proxy war with Russia there. So that'll turn out nice, don't you think?
Well, remember General Milley's talk that we covered a few episodes ago. This sort of speaks to that urban warfare. Just anybody can tactically use the technology to benefit a particular group or region or whatever. I think you're right. It justifies all that stuff, but it's always interesting when you're creating heroes out of younger people. I'm always sort of interested and curious.
The world loves that. It's very inspiring. And more than anything, it's inspiring to the whole generation of young people.
Right.
If you have an example of,
Greta.
This 15-year-old well, good point. Yeah, Greta being a great example of that. And this being a sort of a different style than Greta, not so much just sort of an eco-warrior, but an actual military participation by a 15-year-old.
It's like a movie.
Yeah. Oh, it absolutely is. And in the context of Ukraine, which is, putting civilians to work in battle, basically, on a daily basis to defend their country, this is very inspiring to a whole generation of teenagers now who, teen boys, they're not the hardest group to convince to go join the army.
Go to military things.
No, it's a dream come true.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being a 15-year-old who, maybe you're kind of lonely, don't have a lot of friends, so you get into drones and suddenly you're a hero?
No, this is the kind of daydreaming that I would do at age 14, 15. Just having some kind of larger purpose come to, just happens to be put in front of you, and you come through and you're a hero. And yeah, of course.
And in the context of, the following years and decade of Ukraine, which may, this conflict may go on for a decade. It's very possible.
Easily, yeah.
This kid may be grafted in as, you could become the Ukraine's general of autonomous drone warfare.
Yeah, he can be the guy who controls all the large hive of drones, killer drones.
Yes,
he's like, look, he's so responsible. He helped save Ukraine once. He'll do it again. Give him the mind control chip with the drone hives. Yeah.
That's right. Put him in his little pod and let him, control the whole swarm.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's just very, fun. If I was that 15-year-old, I could see that being very fun, but also on the meta narrative, the propaganda of the war and the use of drones and the, again, further military industrial complex intertwining itself within the conflict. This is going to be very useful and overall problematic for U.S. taxpayers.
Yeah.